Onto our witch build, but we're going to do something a little different in this video. I'm going to start out by showing the mistakes I've made with this build, and hopefully if you do the same build I do, this will help you plan a little bit better than I did. So let's take a look at things I did wrong. On the cauldron at this point of the build, this is where I decided I was going to put the power on the bottom. After looking over it, this was really not a good spot, but all I did was take a pipe and then draw a little circle around so I knew where it would be. But again, this was a mistake. Now this part of the build wasn't a mistake. I want the electronics on the back, the on-off switch. This way it's facing a wall, nobody's going to see that switch. So here I am, I just mark out where I want it. Once it's all marked out, I take my Dremel with my diamond bit and I cut out the square where we're going to put the on and off switch. Now that I have the square cut out, I'm just going to test fit the piece in here, and it fits very well. Once I get it in there and set, I'll run some resin around it to hold it in place, and we'll have our on and off switch sealed in there permanently. And here is a huge mistake. I went to Hobby Lobby to get clay so we could put it at the bottom of the cauldron to give it weight, but do not buy this Naira stuff. It's cheap. It feels gummy. It's not even clay. It never even dried in there. I was able to pull it out. So I have to get more clay to put in there, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to get DOS modeling clay. That will get all solid and give me the weight I'm looking for. So at this point, this is where I realized I made a mistake. So what I did was I just took resin, I poured it in very slowly, used my UV flashlight, filled it up, shone the light on it, dried it up, and I just repeated that step over and over. And I added my power to the back. This way the power could also be hidden, and it's a lot easier to get to that power cord if I need to. Now it's time for me to figure out how I'm going to use the Pentacle as the top, because all electronics are going to be inside. So we're going to have to measure the rim of the cauldron with the rim of the Pentacle. To do this, all I did was put the Pentacle on my desk. I put the cauldron on top of it. I took a Sharpie and went around the edge of the cauldron and Pentacle. This way I knew where everything lined up. I'm going to be putting magnets on here to hold it, and I got to figure out what spots are the best spots. This way it doesn't block up our lighting effects that we're going to have from below. And as you can see here, this is all I did to trace around. Put it like this, trace it around, and we were good to go. Time to start working on the Pentacle base. The first thing I'm going to do is I clear coated it with a gloss coat from Mr. Super Clear. This way later on, if I do get any acrylic paint on it, I could just wipe it off. After using Tamiya masking tape to mask off the star, I sprayed it up with Mr. Surfacer 1000. After priming the piece, I painted it with Scale 75 black. Once the Scale 75 black was dry, I hit it with Mr. Super Clear flat coat, and I also took out the whole backing. This way we could add lights inside and we can light up the Pentacle. Well, model building isn't perfect no matter what video you see. Unfortunately, with the amount of tape and the amount of layers of paint we used, I had too much ridge on the edges of where the Pentacle was, so that didn't come out good, so we stripped it all down, and now I'm using Ammo by MIG liquid mask on top of it. This way we can start painting this again. Now that the liquid mask is all dried up, we could start repeating the process. And here we are back in primer. Scale 75 black is back on, and I use the Ultra Matte by Ammo by MIG. The next thing to do is remove the liquid mask and the masking tape from the inside and see if we have a good job. The liquid mask worked out much better than the tape. Everything came out smooth, and as you can see with my phone flashlight, we're going to have a nice shine right through the Pentacle itself. Next up, we're going to be working on the cauldron. The moon phases up front, those are going to be lit up. I think those are going to be a yellow, but we're going to have to do the same thing. And we're going to use liquid mask on the front, and we got masking tape on the back. This way we don't get any paint on the inside and ruin the effect. So let me get this masked up and start to paint. And again, we went with the Ammo by MIG liquid mask, and right into primer we go. And for the black paint, we're just going to use Scale 75 black again, and we're going to start painting it up in thin layers and build that black up. Now that the black is on there, the next thing we'll do is we'll seal this all in, and then eventually we're going to take off that liquid mask. I sealed everything in with Mr. Super Clear Matte. This is one of my go-to mattes. Everybody has a black cauldron. I wanted to do something a little different, so I'm using Folk Arts bronze, and I'm thinning it down, and I'm just brushing it on all over the cauldron. I want to give it more of a metal look or a worn look, so we'll see how this turns out, and you can watch the paint job as I go. And the cauldron has all its bronze on there. It's a little stark, it's too much bronze for me, so I'm still going to work on this. I'm going to take a wet brush while this is still in the drying stages and wipe some of it down. And the next thing, like I said, I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off of here. This way we can see what we got going on if I'm going to have to make any touch-ups. And here you can see I had to make touch-ups around the 3 moon phases, and I'm also going to have to blend back in the bronze. And this is the final step after I watered it down, and I decided to take the paintbrush and actually stipple the bronze on there to make it look more like it's metal, and I think this came out much better than just brushing it or trying to dry brush it. Now that we're progressing, I'll turn down the lights. I'll use my phone camera flashlight, and I will show you what it's going to look like lit up. It's not going to be blue like that. That's just a painter's tape in there. This way I protected the inside from any type of overspray. It's most likely going to be yellow on the front too, with a flickering effect of some sort. Now that I'm just waiting on electronics for the cauldron, we're going to start working on the body. And as you can see, there's tons of gaps between the legs and the body, and the same thing happened between the arms. With the arms, what I did was I cut off the key. This way I could flatten out the piece that was bulging, and then I could add these to the body. I can add another key or just glue them on. I'm going to show you the process now. To remove the key from the legs, all I'm taking is my razor saw, and I'm just going to cut that key off and make it smooth. And then after that, I'm going to slowly take my Dremel and I'm going to flatten out the high spots on the back of her leg and keep test fitting until I have a better fit. And hopefully I have a perfect fit, or I only have to use a minimal amount of putty to get things looking good. After cutting off the key, I noticed there were some islands, so I did a little bit extra work of sanding things down. And even without the key, I can still paint it using the other part. The first test fit, it looks good. There's still a little bit of a gap, and that's because on top of the leg, there's more of a bubble right here that I'm going to have to keep working on very slowly and gently sanding that down. This way I don't take it too far down, and then I'll have to fill a gap in the opposite direction. Here, after sanding it down, you can see I brought it back down to resin. I'm going to have to smooth all that out once I'm done, because a little lip will show. You can see there's a much better fit. It's nice and tight. I can glue that together. I won't even have to gap fill this part. Hopefully the other leg comes out like that. So this is where we're at on the build. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and stick around because there will be more episodes on electronics and the painting of this build. And of course, I'd like to say thank you to all our old subscribers and our new subscribers. You're making the channel grow, and we really appreciate that. And thanks to everybody that's joined as a membership on the YouTube channel. We really appreciate your support, and we hope to see you all over on our community, community.hobbylinkinternational.com. Have a great night, everybody. Take care, and bye-bye.